Algebra, Unit 2, Lesson 8, Video 8. Percents as fractions. A percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. To write a percent as a fraction, express the ratio as a fraction with a denominator of 100. Fractions should be expressed in simplest form all the time, but percents are always out of 100. We've been working on this since 6th grade, so hopefully this is a quick refresher. So write each percent as a fraction in simplest terms. So I'm going to start by taking the 79, making it a ratio over 100. That does not reduce. We're done. Letter B, 107 over 100. If that reduces, we need to. It does not. Letter C, so 0.5. Okay, so this one is the first, maybe causes some issues here. So 0.5%. So I'm going to write 0.5 over 100. Okay, but now when we're making fractions, we don't want decimals in there too. It's too complicated. So I just need to find a way to make this a whole number, 5. So if I multiply this whole thing by 10 over 10, or by 1, 10 over 10, I now get 5 over 1,000. Okay, 5 over 1,000, that definitely reduces. So that reduces to 1 over 200. Fraction, simplest terms, we're done. 11.5%, so 11.5 over 100. Again, I can't have that, so I'll multiply everything by 10, and I'll get 115 over 1,000. And that also is going to reduce. If I divide both by 5, I'll get 23 over 200. That is simplest form, and we're done. Okay, so hopefully that was a quick refresh. Percents are always based of 100, so just put it as ratio over 100. Percent proportion, this is also a review. We've talked about both of these pieces. Part to whole, percent to 100. If you're using a word problem, part to whole is where you want to be. If you are using just a statement like the next 4 examples, is over of, I recommend is the better one. Percent proportion. In the percent proportion, the ratio of a part of something to a whole is equal to the percent written as a fraction. You can use the percent proportion to find the part, the whole, or the percent. So for letter A through D, use the percent proportion to solve the following problems. So if you are ever told how to do a problem, you need to use those methods. So we need to use one of these two. I recommend is over of equals percent over 100. I also like to take out colored pencils at this point just to help all my visual learners really see the problem. So I'm going to underline or highlight in some way the word that is touching the number that tells me where to put it, again, in this proportion here. So 40%, stop. There we go. 40 is touching percent. Okay, the very next thing I see is of 30. I'm going to underline of 30. The next thing I see is what? There, the problem is done. All I need to now do is set it up. So I have a proportion is a fraction equal to a fraction. Is over of. Is what? I have no idea. Let's make it an x. Of 30. Well, 30's on the bottom. Equals percent. Well, it gives me 40. And percent as a fraction is always out of 100. There's our proportion set up. All we have to do now is solve that. So remember, when we have a fraction equal to a fraction or a proportion, our best option is to cross multiply. So we get 100x equals 1200. Okay, divide both sides by 100. And we're going to get x equals 12. So the question is asking, what is the number? Well, the number is 12. Letter B. 25 is what percent of 125? Same thing, I'm going to pull out some colored pencils and I'm going to underline or circle the groupings of things. So 25 is. My only choice is that is the is. What percent? I have no idea, so that's my x. And of 125. Okay, so it sounds like is over of. So 25 is of 125. Has to be what percent? No idea, over 100. Then we're going to, from there, again, cross multiply and set up your equation horizontally. So I have 125x equals 2500. I'm going to divide both sides by 125. Again, if you want to drop the wall, just drop the wall. And I get x equals 20. So what percent? In this case, it's 20%. please go ahead and try C and D on your own. Alright, on the back we have word problems. So again, I want to draw your attention to it may be better to use part to the whole equals percent over 100. Because in the word problems, it's not as simple as finding the word is and of. If you're just looking for is and of, you're not really thinking about the problems. So if you're given word problems, part to whole is a much better thought process. Okay, so letter E, and again, we're looking for part to whole is percent over 100. So I hope you wrote that on your notes, so it's very close, you're not flipping your paper back and forth. Letter E, Kelsey took a survey of students in her lunch period. 42 out of the 70 students Kelsey surveyed said their family have a pet. What percent of the students have pets? So what percent? First thing, let's get some underlines here and underline the question. What percent? So I still need a proportion, whether I'm using part to whole or is over of. What percent is still X? It's what percent? We have no idea. Percents are always out of 100. So now that's almost like the easy part. So now here, think part to whole. So she went to school, she asked a bunch of kids, 42 out of 70 said they have a pet. So what part of that number has a pet? 42. Well, how many total? What's the whole number of the population she asked? Well, she asked 70. There's our proportion. Again, we're going to cross multiply. Always, fraction equal to a fraction, we cross multiply. We get 4,200 equals 70x. If we divide both sides by 70, we get x equals 60. So if 42 out of the 70 said they have a pet, what percent of the population have a pet? 60%. Let's move over to letter F. A basketball team won 75% of their games. Awesome. If they won 18 games, how many games did they play? Okay, so this time we still have a fraction equal to a fraction. They gave us the percent. Okay, so 75 is the known, always out of 100. So now we need to know the part and the whole. If they won 18 games, how many did they play? Well, if they won 18, that sounds like the part, because the total, or the whole, would be the total number of games that they played. So now our x is in the of or the whole position. Again, we're going to cross multiply and make an equation. I have 1800 equals 75x. We're going to divide both sides by 75. Again, drop the wall if you'd like to. And we're going to get x equals 24. So how many games did they play? Well, it's a word problem. Let's end it. They played 24 games. All right, please try the rest on your own. Remember, feel free to underline things, color coordinate, circle. Maybe you practice writing the proportion every time. Part over whole is percent over 100. That should be a formula you don't have to think about. It should be so ingrained. So go ahead and write that every time. And finish this side of the page. Percent of change. Percent of change is the ratio of change in an amount to the original amount expressed as a percent. If the new number is greater than the original amount, the percent of change is a percent of increase. Similarly, if the new number is less than the original number, the percent of change is a percent of decrease. Find the percent of change using the following proportion. Okay, so this is another formula that a lot of us forget often, and that leads us to get problems wrong. So find the percent of change using the following proportion. The change over the original percent over 100. Be sure to indicate if it's increase or decrease. So it might be easiest to maybe start with, is it an increase or a decrease? So we need to, using that proportion, try a couple problems. So letter E, the original is $20. The new is $23. So already I see from 20 to 23, I know that this was an increase. That's a quick way to lose a point if you don't do that. Okay, so we know it's an increase. All right, so our proportion is a fraction equal to a fraction. So the left side, we need to do change over the original. So if it started 20 and went to 23, the change is $3. Okay, we could show the work there, 20 minus 23. So then we get a negative. Let's just think about the change was $3. The original price was 20, as labeled there, equals the percent or x over 100. So here we have a fraction equal to fraction. Let's go ahead and cross multiply or find the cross products. We have 300 equals 20x. Drop the wall if you'd like. Divide both sides by 20, which I'm hoping is getting to be just a routine for you now. So 300 divided by 20 would be 15. So is it a percent increase? Yes, it's a percent increase, and by how much? 15%. So it's a 15% increase. Please try letter F on your own. Real-world percent of change. There are many instances where percent of change is used, some of which include, but are not limited to, finding sales tax, gratuity or a tip, discount, commission, etc. Let's just talk about we know and make sure we know what all of those words means. So in the United States, if you purchase something, there's a sales tax. It's a small percent that goes to the government. Gratuity or a tip. So if you go out to eat, it is customary in the United States to leave the service staff, a waiter, a waitress, a bartender, a hostess sometimes. If you will go to a wedding sometimes, it's customary to leave a gratuity or tip thanking the person providing you service. Discounts. So let's say it's fall and there are shorts that are from summer. They might be discounted because they no longer should be in the store because it's going to get cold. Commission. People that sell expensive things. So maybe a car dealership. The person that sells you the car could get a commission. Every car they sell, they get a bonus. This could also work for someone that maybe works at Best Buy selling computers and things like that. Okay, so to solve the following problems using the percent of change proportion, when necessary, indicate if it was a percent increase or decrease. So again, keep in mind, did the price go up or did it go down? So Joyce earned $10 for her allowance last week. This week she earned $25 by doing extra chores. Find the percent of change. So remember, we're going to do change over the original equals percent over 100. So I'm just going to start and laying out fraction equal to a fraction. It sometimes gives me a place to start. All right, so we need the percent of change. Find the percent. Well, we don't know that, so I'm going to make that x. Percents are always out of 100. So we're halfway done. Maybe we're not feeling as stressed. So Joyce earned $10, so that's her original. Okay, Joyce earned 10, and now she earned 25. So I need to find the change of those. Well, from 10 to 25, it changed to $15. And from 10 to 25, it's also an increase. Or maybe I skip ahead right now and write increase. Then we need to find the percent. So I have a fraction equal to fraction. Everything's filled in. I'm going to cross multiply. I get 10x equals 1,500. And if I divide both sides by 10, I will get x equals 150. Okay, so that means that her increase went up by 150%. So the percent of change is 150%. Now, let's see if that makes sense. 150%. So if she made $10, if she increased by 100%, she'd be 20. Oh, that makes perfect sense then. So 150% would be almost time and a half. So 10, 25, that's perfect. Letter L, Jack is buying a $90 shirt. If the tax is 7.5%, what will be his total cost? Okay, so now we have to think about everything we've done so far on this lesson. So Jack is buying a shirt that's $90. So everything we're working with now is proportions, especially when we have the percent. So here is the percent, so 7.5%. And again, that's always out of 100. Okay, so now we're halfway done. Okay, so Jack is buying a $90 shirt. If the tax is 7.5%, what will his total cost be? So tax is 7.5%. So that's an additional fee. Again, everything we buy, we have to pay tax on. So that's additional. So at the end, the total cost should be more than $90. Just keep that in mind. All right, so Jack is buying a $90 shirt. Is that a part of the price or is that the whole? That's the whole. We don't know the part. The part is actually going to be the tax. So if we cross multiply here, we are going to get 100x equals 675. So we're going to divide both sides by 100. And we're going to get x equals, again, drop the wall if you like it, x equals 6.75. So now let's remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about going to the store, buying a shirt, and having tax added on. So does it make sense to leave your answer as 6.75? Okay, yes, 6.75 is $6.75. That sounds like a big number for tax, but it is an expensive shirt. What will be his total cost? Well, it's not $6.75. He's buying the shirt and he's going to pay $6.75. That's $6.75. So if we think about money, add up some place values, it looks like he's going to be paying $96.75 total. And that's our answer. Jack is going to pay $96.75. Just to make sure we're using an answer that is good for a word problem. Alright, on this last page I'd like you to do letter M on your own, and then we're going to work on letter N together. Letter N, a pair of sandals is on sale for 20% off the original price. If the original price is $16, what is the sale price? So again, we're looking to make a proportion. It's 20% off, so there's always more than one way to do a problem. My thought is that sometimes we want to do the problem so there's less work, but also not be confused. So if we think about this problem, so maybe I'm going to leave the percent for the end. The original price, that's the whole, is $16. Great. What is the sale price? So we really don't know what the part is going to be. Percents are always out of 100. Okay, so let's do this two ways. 20% off. So I need to find 20% of $16 and then subtract that from 16. Okay, so it's 20% off. So if you find 20% of $16, that needs to come off, so that's the subtraction part. So if we cross multiply here, we get 100x equals $320. Again, I'm going to leave out the dollar symbol. Divide both sides by 100. And we're going to get x equals $3.20. Alright, so now the problem is asking what is the sale price. So this is the price coming off of our total. So we need to take $16, the original price, and subtract $3.20, which is going to give us $12.80. So the sale price is now we can add in our labels again, $12.80. Now, if you wanted to think about this another way, and I don't want to confuse you, if we're taking 20% off, we could have instead made our equation, well, we don't know the price of the sale price, we do know the total. If we're going to take 20% off, isn't that the same as just finding 80% of the shirt, of the sandals, excuse me, of the sandals? That could have been another proportion you set up. So again, just because I'm doing the notes for you, with you, it doesn't mean you have to have them identical. So if you thought, hey, this sounds like a better idea mentally, that's awesome. Don't change your notes, because both could get you the same correct answer. All right, I would like you to try O and P on your own,